Hello and welcome to Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Show. My name is Simon Miller and this is a pro wrestling show. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it. We'll get all the fumblings out the way. Of course, this is sponsored by pinsandknuckles.com. They're a merchandise company, so if you need some merch, check them out. Or go to pinsandknucklesmerch.com where they have an exclusive Simon Miller t-shirt. And what a world we live in where that's the case. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SimonMiller316, and everything you hear that is my personal venture is supported by patreon.com/SimonMiller316. If you could support me, I'd really appreciate it. You can check the webpage out. You see a bunch of rewards. Also, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to watch a couple of the podcasts we do live. We do live streams of those. And talking of the Patreon, what I like to do is I like to give back. Also, I just find it incredibly enjoyable meeting wrestling fans from across the world, which obviously we're all brought together as a community thanks to this crazy thing called the internet. And I get them on the show. I think it's the best way to try and get a good idea, understanding of, what the quote-unquote typical wrestling fan is thinking of the product right now. And my word, do we have a lot to talk about. So today, I'm very happy to say a man who has been very, very good to me in terms of supporting throughout the last few months is my man, Derek. Derek, how you doing today? All the way from America, damn it.
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it. And
no, dude. Pleasure, man.
Of course. I enjoy everything you do, and I'm going to continue to support you as long as I can, and we can keep talking wrestling like this, like we're about to do here now.
Thanks, man. That's really kind of you. Like I say, that's why it's cool. Like, if you listen to the podcast for a while, you'll be recognizing certain voices as they come back on. I like it. Some people go nuts about it, but look, turn it off. Easy. Right. So, dude, let's just get into the nitty gritty. We discussed this beforehand. I kind of wanted to frame this episode up a little bit differently. As you know, if you're a long-term listener to the podcast, we're trying to structure things a bit better, come up with some new ideas. So I have written down 8 things that I believe WWE needs to do to save the Fiend, or just to do to the Fiend in general. And what I want to do is, man, I want to go through each one. I want to run them by you, and I want you to agree. I want you to disagree, and I just want your opinion on everything that happened at Hell in a Cell, everything that happened last night, and everything that could happen at Crown Jewel, which is about two weeks away. So for me, tying into that match in Saudi Arabia, now I know that WWE usually treats these shows as glorified house shows, and I have seen nothing to suggest that that's going to change in a couple of weeks. But I am talking in a dream world, speculative fashion here before anyone goes, Miller, it's not going to happen. I know. But my number 8 is simply give Bray Wyatt the title and let him hold it, as I've written here, let him hold it forever. So never let him lose the title. And I think if we do that, we may be all right. So, dude, give me your take on that, and also give me your take on everything we saw around about 24 hours ago.
I completely agree with you. I think he should have won the title last weekend, and I think he should win at Crown Jewel. But as you said, it's a glorified house show, and I don't think they've actually changed titles on the last Saudi Arabia shows they've had in the past. So I agree with you 100%. They should give the title to Bray. But the last 24 hours from yesterday, honestly, I don't know how to feel anymore. I've kind of lost interest. And it sucks for me because that was the best thing in all of wrestling. I think was Bray Wyatt as the Fiend. But ever since last weekend, it kind of killed it for me. I've lost a little bit of interest, and then last night I don't know yet. I guess we have to wait and see how this goes. I was kind of hoping that no one was able to enter Bray Wyatt's Fun House, but I guess because I always figured that it was that Fun House was more of Bray Wyatt's mind. But I guess Seth Rollins was able to enter Bray Wyatt's mind. I guess. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how I feel about last night, because I guess we just have to wait until this Friday, because Bray Wyatt, he's a SmackDown star and Seth is still a Raw star, so I don't know how they're going to do it since the draft is over. And they did say that they're not going to be crossing brands anymore, but obviously that's a lie.
I mean, dude, they're already doing it. I mean, we had a discussion earlier. Why was Lacey Evans on the show? And the only reasoning we have is, well, I guess the draft isn't officially over. But if that's the case, why wasn't that made clear? Why didn't someone just tell us that? That's what I don't understand. Just that takes one line from Vic Joseph. Just let me know what's going on. Exactly.
It gets kind of frustrating as a fan. You're told one thing and they completely change it. I mean, like you said, and I just watched your ups and downs earlier for Raw, and I agree with you. It's WWE's company; they can do whatever they want. But they still have to please the ones that are paying the product, their product.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And I tried to make that clear, on this week's episode, because that's kind of how I saw it. It was like, it's quite clear to me now. It always reminds me do you remember when Braun Strowman won Money in the Bank,
Yes.
however long ago that was?
Yes.
And I especially was like, they're not going to give it to Braun. That's too obvious. And then he won it. I'm like, Simon, of course they gave it to Braun. That's what they do. And I've kind of come to that conclusion again here, where it's like they've just decided Seth Rollins is their guy. And as over as Bray Wyatt may be, or The Fiend, no matter how popular he is, that's not the direction WWE wants to go in. So they're going to stand by their man. And like I said, I genuinely mean it. I respect it. I respect that they have such faith and such dedication to that. The only issue that I have is that's not what the fans want. And they're telling you loudly twice, and you don't do anything. And it's just that's the problem.
Exactly. And they've been doing that for years and years. Because to me, I feel like if you're not a WWE guy or woman, if you're not a company person, then you're not going to get the main title. Because I can't see who's had the title so far. It's been Brock Lesnar for the most part. And you got Roman Reigns and now Seth Rollins. They're company guys, and they're going to stick with the company no matter what. So I think that's the reason why they keep the titles all the time. Someone like Bray Wyatt, they kind of shown in the past that like Bray Wyatt, he does amazing promos. He's good with his character, whatever character that may be. But when it comes to big matches, he always loses. So it kind of makes you lose interest in whatever he's saying during his promos.
But that's it, right? That's the situation we've got here. Is that, again, I was doing the podcast the other day, and someone said, "Oh no, we need less of the spooky nonsense with Bray Wyatt because that's why he failed beforehand." And I was like, I disagree. The reason we failed beforehand is because he talked such a good game and never back it up.
Exactly.
If he had beaten Roman Reigns, John Cena, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins first time around, Chris Jericho, and I couldn't believe it when he lost the Chris Jericho feud. But if he had won all of those, the spooky nonsense would have, okay, you don't necessarily have to be into that, but I think it would have carried more weight because it meant something.
Exactly.
All the magic and mystery led him to winning matches, which deep down, let's face it, is what wrestling is all about. And that's why I think, I don't think this is going to happen by any stretch of the imagination, but I think because we're in rehab territory, how do you rehab someone quickly? You put the world championship on them, you push them to the moon, you say, this is our guy.
Exactly.
And that's why it's at number 8, which ties into number 7, because I think we're about to head there anyway. Move him away from Seth Rollins. And then in brackets, I've written, to save Seth. And this is the other point of view, and I desperately want to get your opinion on this. Bray Wyatt, even though he comes with the baggage of the cult leader in the Wyatt family, the Fiend is new, the Fiend is fresh. Like, the people still get excited about the Fiend. They haven't given up on him because they want him to succeed. It's like Zack Ryder, for example. Remember, everyone was behind Zack Ryder, but eventually you get worn out and you go, okay, well, they're not going to do anything, so flub it. I'm going to move on. Seth Rollins is still Bray Wyatt is still in that sort of birthing period where we want to get behind him. Seth Rollins, though, man, I tell you, like, if you think about how over he was at WrestleMania, when he came out at 35 and everyone went crazy and they were desperate to see him get Brock to 6-7 months down the line. And he's openly getting booed in shows. He's coming across like the heel, although, the dirt sheets and news sites, whatever you want to call them, are saying that there's no intention to turn him bad guy. I just think these two are bad for each other. Like, I don't think and it's not their fault, but in terms of the story and the creative we've been given, I think they're dragging each other down. And you never want that from any kind of feud. So I just think we've got to cut our losses. Again, in Dream World, give Bray the belt and then push Seth to do something else. But even if we don't do that, end the program, man. Just end the program.
I agree with you on that point as well. And I will say I'm a huge Seth Rollins fan, but he has actually gotten really stale for me since they decided to team him up with Becky Lynch. And I think that's when they started killing his character a little bit more. Is when they started doing that love story, whatever it was, back in June or July, whatever that was. I think that's when, for me, it kind of killed Seth's character, and it's not his fault. It's however he's booked. And I mean, like you're right. He was hot around WrestleMania time. He beat Brock Lesnar. Everybody was happy that we were finally going to get the Universal title back on TV. But I agree. They need to separate Bray from Seth. It's just when are they going to do it? That's the thing. You got Crown Jewel coming up, and obviously that's just another house show. And I think I don't know where I saw that. Someone reported it, that they may end up wrestling again at Survivor Series. So it's going to keep going even after that, I guess that's what they're planning. I don't know. Is this how much longer are we going to be able to take Seth Rollins versus the Fiend?
Well, especially if there's, it doesn't go in the direction that people want it to go in. I mean, then what happens to, let's say Bray Wyatt, say you're right, they fight at Survivor Series. Well, what happens to Bray Wyatt if he loses 3 times? And I don't care what anybody says, Hell in a Cell was a loss. It was a loss. It just was. No, you could spin it any way you want. He didn't win, therefore he lost. That's how I see it.
He didn't win the Hell in a Cell. I saw Seth on top, and that's how it was played. I mean, it took them a while for them to say that was a referee stoppage, but I think that was just for them to save their own ass.
But definitely.
But that actually kind of makes it a lot worse, I think. But but if they don't give the title to Bray at Saudi Arabia, that's loss number 2 in the same month. In the same month that he won't be winning the Universal title. And most fans, we know he's not going to win it. They're not going to change titles. They're not going to give the Universal Championship to a SmackDown superstar unless they decide to do some trade where he goes to Raw sometime in the next month. And that's still possible because I think over the weekend they said they were going to do a blockbuster trade announcement yesterday, but I don't think that ever happened.
Apparently it's happening tonight on the FS1 show. I don't know what the hell that's meant to be. I have absolutely no idea. But yeah, apparently it's happening there.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that one, but I don't know how they would. I have no idea. I mean, as of right now, Bray's still a SmackDown guy and Seth is a Raw guy. We know as fans, we know sometimes how WWE thinks. They're not going to give a Raw title to a SmackDown guy, so we know that Bray's not going to win on Halloween. And if they do wrestle at Survivor Series, it'll be the exact same thing. You'll still have a Raw versus SmackDown guy. And to me, right now at this moment, the Bray character, the Fiend character, it's on its last leg. At least in my opinion, I don't get excited anymore when I hear the Firefly Fun House song anymore, as I once did. And now apparently we're not going to get that anymore because what happened last night.
Well, no, yeah. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I really, really don't. In fact, just because I've got it as a number 6. I've literally got it down. You should have to bring back the Firefly Fun House, but now you have to do it on later in the year or maybe early next year when he goes into a different feud. Well, go on, man.
They can bring it back. See, the way to bring it back, you would have to give Bray the title. Give Bray the title, and he can have a new Fun House that looks different and say, "Hey, this is, we're champions" or something like that. With the puppets that he has, that's one way you can bring it back is give the belt to Bray, and then he can start up with the new Fun House.
Yeah, no, that's what I think you should do. And then it's almost like you hit the reset button a little bit, and we can just pretend that everything we've just seen didn't happen. We can just be like, "Nah, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. That never went down." But now I think the problem with the burning of the Firefly Funhouse for me is that nobody wanted it to happen, and that would be a great tactic if Seth Rollins was meant to be the babyface, right? Sorry, the heel. If Seth Rollins is meant to be the heel, and you take away the thing that people enjoy, fantastic, man. That's excellent. And we still don't know they're not heading in that direction. We are basing this off speculation and what other people are saying, but to take away that thing that everybody loves, everybody talks about. And I actually agree with you. I think it was probably a good idea to stop it at some point relatively soon, unless they had some ideas, because it did feel like they were over-relying on it a little bit. But don't have Seth Rollins as the guy to burn it down, especially the cheesiness of it. And I want to point out, I know this is a particularly sort of critical episode of WWE. I love WWE, and I love what they do, and I still enjoyed the Raw show as much as I could. But still, it just doesn't make any sense to have something that fans like and have the guy that you're kind of struggling to get cheered and go, he can destroy it, without somebody going, wait a minute. just if we do that, you do realize we're going to piss everybody off. And if they go, yeah, we don't care, again, great, it's your company, do whatever the hell you want. But that's when I get confused, and that's when I sort of get a little bit more, I'll go with negative. Critical is a better word, but I get more critical because it just seems so obvious in my head. It just seems so obvious. So when you don't do it, I'm like, okay, what now though? What now? What is the plan?
Right now, to me, Seth Rollins kind of entered that Roman Reigns territory where, WWE is going to push him as a babyface no matter what, and the fans are going to end up booing him. I mean, I heard some boos last night, when he was burning down the Fun House. And we're supposed to think that, what I take from that is that Seth is the heel and Bray should be the babyface. And I think that's the way you can save these both their characters is turn Seth heel, turn Bray face. I think that is one way you can probably save their characters a little bit, but at this point I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, that's what a lot of people are saying, man. A lot of people are saying that it's just very confusing. It's very confusing all around, which brings me to my number 5, which is, we have a bunch of guys on the roster who don't do anything. And as much as we may like them to do something, WWE are not going to pull that trigger. So why the hell don't you just have Bray Wyatt tear through all of it? Just let him go on a tear.
See, that I agree with. I agree with you 100%. I think it was too early for Bray to go for the title. I mean, if he was going to go for the title, he should have done it right away when he came out. He should never wrestled Finn, but he should have gone for the title right away, going for the title right after Finn Balor's feud or whatever feud that was. I think that was kind of a mistake. I think they should have waited until maybe the Royal Rumble for Bray to come out and maybe win the Rumble. Throw everybody out, wrestle whoever's champion at WrestleMania, and that's when you can pull the trigger with Bray. And he could, and for now, and then right now, you could have had him feud with, I don't know. I mean, have different matches with different people. Like with he could have Survivor Series could have been Undertaker. You could have done that with him. Put Bray over. You could have done other legends. I guess if you want to do, or anybody on the roster that the feud. He can feud with Luke Harper. They're not doing anything with him anymore right now. And I know he was with Eric Rowan, but he's on Raw now. We don't know where Luke Harper's going to end up. I mean, you could have gone. They could have had Bray just, like you said, just run over everybody like Luke Harper, or I can't think of any wrestlers talking about like Rusev, since they're not really using Rusev anymore. I know you love Rusev. I know as much as
you're right though, man.
I do too.
You are right though.
Go ahead.
You could do something like Mike Kanellis, right? Yeah. Mike Kanellis, he doesn't do anything. I like Mike Kanellis, but he's not doing anything.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, you could have done that. You didn't have to do that every single Raw, every pay-per-view. Just every 2 weeks or so, have Bray come out and destroy someone. You didn't have to do Seth Rollins feud right away. If you had no intention to give Bray the title, don't do the feud right now.
That's the thing. If you don't have an out, don't go into it to begin with, right?
Exactly.
Like I think that is the key. Like it doesn't benefit anybody, and you end up where we are now, where you just have this confusing. I don't know. There's probably a Mike Kanellis fan now listening who's saying, "Oh, that's not fair to Mike Kanellis." No, I agree with you, but at least he's being used. And that sounds terrible, but if I run a business, if I have an operation that's going on, I try and use my personnel as best as possible.
Exactly, exactly. And I would have done the same thing with if Samoa Joe was healthy. He's a big threat, and if the Fiend went over Samoa Joe so quickly, it makes the Fiend even more powerful. Same thing with Rusev. I'd rather have Rusev lose quickly to the Fiend than what Rusev's going through right now, but that's another topic, another day.
Dude, we'll get there. We'll get this stuff out of the way. Then we'll have a little chat. Where am I up to? What's my number? My number 4 is he should get to WrestleMania as the champion, and whoever the hell that whoever he takes on, he should win. He should win a WrestleMania match. Like to me, that's always a big thing. That's always a big deal. That always, carries with it a certain amount of, oh, wow, because when it was, I don't think Bray Wyatt has ever won at WrestleMania. All I can remember is that he lost to The Undertaker and then got embarrassed by the Rock. I don't think he's done anything else. So put him there and just. And
he actually didn't he lose the WWE Championship to Randy Orton at WrestleMania?
He did, yeah, man. Exactly. So he lost to Randy Orton, the Rock stuff. John Cena, Undertaker. Did he fight John Cena? He did, yeah. John Cena's just lost. So, let everybody know that you're taking a different tact, making him the champion, and having him win. Makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, if I don't see, because I'm just going what I've seen so far on TV and what WWE's doing. I don't think they're going to give Bray Wyatt a title anytime soon. If they do, they need to do it. They need to pull that trigger now. But if they don't give him the title, then I would just. After Survivor Series, keep Bray Wyatt off TV until the Royal Rumble. Have him win the Royal Rumble as the Fiend, and then he can go to WrestleMania and win the WrestleMania, the championship that way. Whether it's the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship, let him win it that way. If he's going to hold a title going to the WrestleMania, he has to win that title now. He's got to win it at Saudi Arabia or at Survivor Series. If not, they need to keep him off TV for a while until the Royal Rumble, until where they start writing news stories after that, going to WrestleMania.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't agree with you more. It's going to be an early sort of save job, at least far earlier than I expected. I mean, kind of what you just mentioned as well. You tie it in, like my list. Number 3 is treat him as special. Don't have him on every show. Because do you remember how cool it was when, after the Finn Balor stuff, he was there, then he wasn't there, then he was there, then he wasn't there. I thought that worked out really well. Like, I was annoyed when he wasn't on the show, and at first I was like, oh, it's rubbish. But I was like, no, that's good. That's a reason for me to watch. Is he going to be there? And I understand if you go to the live events, and, he probably would get advertised here and there. Yes, that does suck because you want to see him. But it also means on a sort of a bigger level that people are going to be more excited when he is there. And I think that's the key. You want to make sure that people are excited. That's it, right? You want people to light up when he's there. And if you see him every single week, I say it all the time, it's the law of diminishing returns. You just get used to it. And I don't think we should ever get used to a character like Bray Wyatt.
I agree. He shouldn't be there every week. He shouldn't be there every Monday or even every Friday for SmackDown. It should just needs to be a surprise. When it's a surprise, the crowd's more into it. The crowd pops harder for that when it's a surprise. And I agree with you 100% on that one. Having him there every Monday or every Friday kind of, you don't get as excited. You just expect him to be there. But when he's not there, you get disappointed,
But disappointment's a useful tool. You can use disappointment if done in the right way. Like, it's not easy, but you can manage it. You can balance it. Like, I thought it made sense when he wasn't on the TV show, but he come out for a dark match.
Yeah.
I know that dark matches are ruined nowadays because the internet goes, here was the dark match. But, you have to accept that things are going to change at some point. I don't think that's a big deal. I really, really don't. Like, you can choose to ignore that stuff should you so wish.
Yeah, because dark matches are just dark matches. Like, that's what they are. They're dark matches. And they have no meaning to any of the storylines what we see on TV. So yeah, you can have the Fiend during the dark matches. That's not a big deal. At least not to me. It's not.
No, I don't care. I think if you're going to get annoyed about that, you may as well just stop watching. But do you know what I mean? Because it's like when people get mad that, I saw Becky Lynch and Charlotte in an Instagram photo together. I understand that it does take away from it, but you have to just accept that that's where we live now.
Yeah, exactly. We just got to look at wrestling as like comic books. That's like going to see a movie. You're going to see, you see Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal hanging out on Instagram. It's not going to take anything away from the movie.
No. And I would much, when wrestlers do keep it all in kayfabe, whatever you want to call it, on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. Yes, I prefer that, but I'm not a sociopath when I'm going to be like, you're ruining wrestling for me. No, they're human beings at the end of the day. They are allowed to have a normal life. You don't have to be a wrestler 24 hours a day. My number 2 is nice and simple. I mean, it's not going to happen now unless Bray Wyatt does jump back to Raw. Don't reform the Wyatt family. I don't think going backwards ever helps. I think we've reformed them one time too many as it was. And that to me is almost like a cop-out, like we've run out of ideas. I don't think you want to... I just don't think it's going to help. I think it's going to bring back other memories that potentially we don't want to bring up, like The Rock at WrestleMania 32. Again, I just think we need to keep plowing forward and somehow make the best of what is now, unfortunately, a bad situation.
I'm glad you said that because I agree with you, but... what happened yesterday, it was kind of a foreshadow or, something going back to what they did back then when Bray was feuding with Randy Orton. It ended the exact same way. Randy Orton burned down his, whatever it was it a barn or a house, whatever it was.
It's Abigail's shed or
something. Something like that. See, Seth did it with the Fun House. I'm afraid that maybe, the Fiend is going to go after the people that used to be Bray's friend back in the day and help recover from whatever he just lost, from last night's show. Hopefully that doesn't happen because I was thinking that, and you brought it up, so I had to say it, but
no, I know what you mean. I hope not. I don't know. It's just not cool, is it? It's just not cool. That's all I can think of. It's just that we're going back to this again.
I agree with you. It's not cool. It's not cool at all.
Yeah. And my final one, number 1, this is actually I didn't do it as 8 is the least important, is 1 is the most important, but actually I changed my mind. Don't babyface him. Like, just don't do it. Like, WWE sometimes get into this habit where they decide, okay, we're going to go with it, but now we've got to make him a babyface, like, in inverted commas. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he doesn't do this anymore. No. He got over based on the merits of what he's been doing so far. So if you then take that away and change it, you're only going to annoy people because they'll be like, that's not the Bray Wyatt I like to begin with. It's kind of what they did with Seth a little bit. It kept giving him lines. Oh, and Roman Reigns too. They kept feeding him lines they thought people would like as opposed to trying to not to manufacture him. So... no matter what happens, no matter where we go, don't worry about faces and heels. Let Bray Wyatt do whatever he thinks he needs to do with this character. You know, I just don't think it's a good idea to overthink it.
Yeah, and I agree to that too. For the most part, is just you just gotta let the fans be let them cheer, let them boo, let the Fiend be the Fiend. He doesn't have to be a face or a heel. He just let him be him. Let him do his own thing. What do they call that? Tweener. He can be both face and heel. He's gonna get cheered no matter what. If you make him a face or a heel, he's gonna get cheered. Same with Seth Rollins. He's gonna get booed either way. I agree with you. You don't have to make him face. You don't have to turn Bray face. And if they make him face, then they may end up start scripting his lines a little bit more than they already because I think they've given Bray a little bit more freedom than other wrestlers. But if you turn him face, then his promos may not be as good.
No, I think they'd be doing it as a like an escape plan almost. Oh, we'll try this. No, don't try it. Don't try it. Just, I don't even know. Just don't do it, WWE. Just don't do it. So yeah, there's my 8 things. I mean, in general, man, can you even believe we're here? Like, I feel like I feel like I've been mugged off by WWE because I defended them so much. I defended them like everyone's like, they're going to ruin it, they're going to ruin it. Like, nah, they won't ruin it. They won't ruin it. It'll be fine. I'm like, damn it. What did you think after Hell in a Cell? I know it's ages ago now. I don't care. What was your reaction when all that was going on?
Actually, I was kind of pissed. You can ask my wife. And we were laying in bed watching the show, and when Seth Rollins went to go hit him with the sledgehammer, the referee's like, no, don't do this. It's not you. And it's like, my mind's like, it's Hell in a Cell. He can do whatever he wants. But instead, hits Fiend with the sledgehammer and the bell rings. I sat up. I was like, really? I was upset. I would say I was angry. It was more disappointment and more, I was like, this is how they're gonna go. I automatically knew that's gonna kill the Fiend's character. That's just the beginning of the decline of the Fiend. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I try to stay positive, but it gets kind of hard. You get into you invest your time in someone, and then a couple months later down the road, they completely change the story, or they do something where it makes you lose interest. You can go all the way back to earlier this year with Becky Lynch. Her main event with WrestleMania, they kept changing the story, so I kind of lost interest in her character. And the same way right now with the Fiend, I'm kind of losing interest in the Fiend. Last month or last Sunday at Hell in a Cell, it kind of hurt it a little bit. I still support Bray Wyatt and the Fiend. I'll still, hopefully they turn him around and make him like he should be. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to explain how I feel right now when it comes to Bray Wyatt.
Confused.
Yeah, confused. There you go. That's the word. Confused.
Yeah. Because to me, it felt like, and this is why I was so confident, it just felt like an easy home run, especially because, I don't like this term, but wrestling ain't real, man. Like, we could do whatever we want, so why wouldn't we do it? Like, that's the thing that really gets me. You can just create whatever you want to create, and that's fine. And yet we decided to, because I know that even if you were upset that Seth Rollins, let's say that Bray won at Hell in a Cell, to me it would be awesome if people were upset that Seth Rollins won, because that would just justify his babyface nature and maybe get him a bigger swell of support. So why wouldn't you want to take it off him? What is the problem with him losing the belt? I've thought about this time and time again because I'm a nerd, but I can't come up with a reason. I can't come up with a reason not to do it aside from, well, we want Seth to be the champion. Okay, but you don't have to do that. There's no one stopping you. It's not like in UFC, for example, where Dana White's got his boys and he wants to make sure they hold on to the gold, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. If you give it to Bray for a week and take it back, okay, that's about it.
Exactly. I mean, they could have given Bray the title Hell in a Cell, and then you can use the draft to make it where he's got to relinquish the belt because he's on SmackDown now, and then now the belt's vacant, and then to give it to Seth Rollins back that way. You didn't have they could have done it a different way. They could have done it where Bray Wyatt won the title at Hell in a Cell, and Seth Rollins would have been okay. He would still be the babyface, even though the Fiend would be getting cheered for winning the title. But you could still pull the trigger there, but obviously they did not, and look where we are now.
Yeah, we're just talking about it over and over and over again. Dude, earlier on, let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned the Rusev, Lana, Bobby Lashley storyline. Look, I don't. Again, as I've always said, if WWE wants to do this stuff, awesome. But I don't know who it's for. It's not for me. Like when Lana's there just saying she basically making sexual innuendos and sexual references. I'm like, the best thing about it was Bobby Lashley's face. Bobby Lashley just like he's having the time of his life, which I quite appreciate. He cracks me up, Bobby Lashley. But it feels mean-spirited. So, you know, fans like you and I think we kind of get that impression that it feels a little bit mean-spirited. But on top of that, I'm just like, again, I know who it's for. I understand who it's for. But is that working? Because it's been going on a few weeks and I haven't seen like a spike in ratings, or I haven't seen many people talking about it. And I understand the sort of wrestling sphere I have around myself is people like myself in terms of my fandom. But even outside of that, I'm not. You know, I know when something's good in wrestling because I get all my old mates texting me, going, Miller. And no one's texted me going, Miller, just saw this hot blonde. Like getting. No one said that to me because I don't think it's doing the. You know, I don't think it's kind of getting that kind of traction that maybe WWE wants it to.
and true. And what do you do to a person that just, you know, casually just switching channels and they, you know, say, I want to check out wrestling for the first time ever, and they turn into that. How do you explain that to them? You know,
well, dude, it happens to me all the time. Every time I get someone that doesn't watch that's what they'll see every time, and I'm like, oh, don't watch it. Like, don't watch it. It was a mistake. I'm sorry.
And you know, people always say that we need to bring back the Attitude Era. We need to bring back the Attitude Era. You know, this is the Attitude Era. This is what they did back then in the late '90s.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think when people say that, I don't think they exactly know what they really mean when they say the Attitude Era. That's not what they want. They don't want, you know, sexual content on wrestling. At least I don't. I mean, I'm not speaking for anybody else. But I don't like that. And to me it's not entertaining. That's not wrestling. Even back then, it wasn't wrestling to me back then. You know, they do those stupid storylines back in the day. I wasn't really into that stuff, and I just wanted to see people get beat up, like I still do. I still want to see people get beat up.
Yeah, and you want good storylines to kind of...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I just looked as we were talking. I thought maybe it does well on YouTube. I had this bizarre thought. I thought maybe it's just designed for that. They haven't even uploaded it to YouTube. Like, unless I can't see it. I'm just scanning here. I'm not really paying much attention, but I can't see it. So that's even more confusing. It doesn't even go up on there. Well, I know how thumbnails work.
Well, and you know, we praise Paul Heyman for, you know, certain storylines, but we also gotta point out the negative too on his story, because I'm assuming this is a Paul Heyman storyline as well, because since he's doing the stories on Raw, I'm assuming this is him. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know if anything that you know that saying that this is not his story.
Well, I see. I mean, yeah, it certainly feels like a Paul Heyman story. Yes, I don't know for sure, but yeah, it sounds.
And this is part of Paul Heyman stories. I don't like. I think he needs to be pointed out for that too. As it's like for me, it kind of. I don't know. It kind of ruins Rusev's character a little bit. Bobby Lashley, he'll be fine because he hasn't really done much since being in WWE anyways. For the second time, and Lana's not gonna hurt her either because she doesn't really wrestle. Lana is more. I mean, I'm not putting her down at all, but Lana's character is more of someone from the late '90s character. She would have been perfect during that time of wrestling.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that's fair. But yeah, I don't really know where they're going with that. I mean, Rusev didn't even appear on Raw this week, so it was just I don't know what it was. And I'm sure some people disagree and they say they like it. And as I always say, that's really, really cool. I don't hate it, and I'm not going to stop watching WWE if they keep doing it. It's just when it's on, I always think to myself, I don't know what's happening right now. Like I feel really confused and a bit disturbed. But
yeah, and sadly, I love Rusev. I think he's great. They should have pushed him a long time ago, and obviously that's not going to happen anytime soon. But when Rusev's on TV now, or that story, that's my bathroom break. Sadly to say.
No, dude, it's not. It's fair because it's that classic. If they don't care about them, it kind of, water runs downhill. Eventually, it does affect you because you're like, well, I don't care about them either.
Exactly. And who knows? In a couple of weeks, this story may be completely dropped. And just look at Mike and what's her name, Marie, with the baby thing, the being pregnancy. Who's the daddy? We haven't really heard that in the last few weeks, have we?
No, man, no. That just died. Although Mike Kanellis wants his release.
I did see that.
How do you feel about that? Because a lot of people are criticizing him, going, "Oh, you shouldn't have signed a contract in June." And I'm like, man, everyone changes, dude. You can't hold people to decisions they made in their past. Like sometimes you have to make those decisions to figure out what you want. Like that's life. Everybody does that.
Exactly. I mean, that if they want to sign, they sign with WWE, then that's good for them. I mean, they thought it was the right decision at that time. Obviously, she's pregnant, so I'm assuming that they did it because say WWE has, it's a good place for medical or whatever they do, good money. But if they're not happy, then they're not happy. And everybody has the right to change their mind. I mean, everybody makes decisions, and sometimes it's the right one, sometimes the wrong one. Apparently, for Mike, it was the wrong decision.
Yeah, no, I don't. I haven't got a problem with it. You can't judge people on stuff like that. It's not fair.
Exactly.
It's not fair. If everyone. And if everyone just made correct decisions every day, how boring would life be? So no, I don't agree with that at all. I don't think it's just not right. You got to let limits though. The problem with wrestling is all this stuff gets out and we're all quick to jump on and criticize. But yeah, I don't. It's not for me. Not for me. He can do whatever the hell he wants to do, and all the best to him. I hope he finds happiness. I mean, dude, given that AEW, because this will go up on Wednesday, given that AEW is going down later on, how are you finding that, man? How is your love for All Elite Wrestling?
I love it. I love Wednesday night Dynamite. That and it's after I'll bring back the Fiend one more time. After that Fiend thing, it kind of does carry on to NXT. I'm not really going to watch NXT because I rather support AEW. So I want them to do better so WWE can do better as well. But
wow, man. There you go. Fuck you, NXT. No, I'm joking.
Exactly.
I'm joking.
Exactly. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure they lost a lot of people from that last pay-per-view. They're going to switch to AEW where it's more wrestling based. It's more of a sports feel. But talking about AEW, I love it. That first night, actually the first 2 weeks they've had, it kind of gives me the old WCW Nitro feel a little bit, and that's when I started watching wrestling. Was WCW back in the mid '90s, so it brings back that that old feeling. Like, oh, this is great. I love it, and it's TV 14, so it's a little more edgy. We know with the I guess the swearing and the action they do in the ring. In the commentating, I think they've improved in 1 week. They improved, and their camera production they've improved in 1 week as well. To me, I feel like AEW is listening to the fans more than WWE. But I mean, I could be wrong about that one. But I'm glad that AEW is here. I'm glad tomorrow's Wednesday, so I am excited to see Dynamite tomorrow night.
Yeah, where. Because we have the Chris Jericho Darby Allin match tonight, right? That's tonight. I think it's tonight. Yeah.
Is that tonight?
I think it's tonight. The street fight for the world, or the Wednesday show. Yeah. For the street fight for the world. I think.
Yes. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it is for the championship. Chris Jericho.
So what do we do there? Because I mean, he's not going to lose the title. Yeah, October 16th. Yeah, he's not going to lose the title because you want to build that Cody Rhodes Chris Jericho. I think there's huge money in that at the next pay-per-view.
I hope they don't overdo it because I felt it last Wednesday when they closed the show with that mayhem with the good guys versus the bad guys. I think that's how they may end it, where the inner circle gets involved, so it ends up in the DQ somehow or no contest. I mean, that's fine and all, but if you do that third week in a row, it might start. Fans might start questioning those stories because it's kind of like the old WCW and NWO stories. That's how they usually close the shows back in the day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, very similar. Yeah,
yeah, and that's what I got out of it last Wednesday because I was like, well, they did that the Wednesday before too. So hopefully they don't do it this Wednesday, but I feel like that they may, and that's the only way I could see them where they keep the belt on Chris Jericho so they can build their feud. He can build his feud with Cody.
Yeah. What do you think the long-term plan for them is? Obviously, I think Chris Jericho should hold the belt for the while. I don't think Cody Rhodes should win it either because we know Cody Rhodes is a star. Basically, I think AEW is of the mindset that whoever is going to beat Chris Jericho is going to be a guy they build up. Maybe do it with Kenny Omega as well because he's kind of deliberately, not on top of the world right now. But Is there a guy, basically what I'm saying to you, is you think there's a guy in the depths of their company that they're slowly, apart from MJF, like that's an obvious one, but more let me rephrase that question. Do you think they have a standout, up-and-coming babyface star, which is obviously something that WWE lacks? Like Cody Rhodes will fit into that bill perfectly, but we know that. Do you think that there's a guy under the radar that's going to grow and evolve throughout WWE, throughout AEW, to the point like, oh my gosh, bam, there it is?
I would actually say Kenny Omega. I mean, I don't know if they actually had a plan for a baby, like they're going to start at the bottom and build them up until, next year or whatever. They're all out or all in pay-per-view, whatever they're going to call it next year. I don't know. I don't think they should give it to Cody right now. Chris Jericho should hold it for a while. I think the AEW championship should be the belt where someone holds for a long time. It shouldn't be like the WWE title where it switches hands so often. It needs to stay on Jericho for a while. He beats Cody at what's it called, Full Gear next month, and then build up Kenny Omega. Because like honestly, I don't know everybody on the AEW roster because for me a lot of them are they're brand new to me because I didn't watch New Japan or Ring of Honor or stuff like that. I've only watched WWE because that's the only thing I have access to in my television. So a lot of these are brand new to me, and I'm liking what I'm seeing the last few weeks. And I'm sure a lot of people don't know who Kenny Omega is, and before the Dynamite show. So I would use Kenny because he's a great wrestler. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And I think they could slowly build him up after his feud with Moxley, and have Kenny go over Jericho sometime next summer and have him win the title, and then from there you can build a Kenny Omega versus John Moxley feud and do that sometime in the next year.
Do you I'm stealing this from Dave Meltzer, but I thought it was an interesting opinion. Do you kind of agree with this idea that AEW's made a mistake by not pushing Kenny Omega as the same guy that he was in New Japan because of the people that don't know who he is? Like you and I know Kenny Omega, so we just kind of go, oh, that's an interesting direction. But if you're a brand new fan to AEW, do you think it would be better if he was able to be the guy that obviously has won over many fans, over the years? Do you think is it a misstep?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Kenny has a say in all the stuff that he does. So I mean, maybe this is all coming from Kenny's ideas that he wants to do a different direction than what he did in New Japan. And if that's true, then I'm all for that. I mean, like you said, you and I know who Kenny Omega is. You know what he's done. But for the new fans that don't know him, I don't know. I mean, you can build him up. I mean, because wins and losses matter in AEW apparently. So you don't want him to keep losing.
They've literally just uploaded an official wins and losses to their website just to jump in there. That is, you can go to AEW.com now and they have a wins and losses record. So.
How many losses? What's his record right now? Can you see it? Kenny Omega?
It's something that I saw earlier, but I'm sure I'll be able to find it if I go there. Although saying that, as much as I love AEW, their website is not ideal. Yeah, their website.
We can say that their website kind of sucks right now.
So. Let me see if I can find it. I saw it on Reddit. So if I go to Reddit, the wonderful, wonderful Reddit, I'm going to be able to find it. Yes, there we go. All Elite roster. Where is it though? Let me reread that post. That sounds like gibberish. No, it says AEW's roster page updated with official wins and losses records. So there we go. Yeah, boom, got it. So Kenny Omega, if I can find him, because it's in no order, is 2 wins, 3 losses.
Yeah,
so in singles, yeah.
So he's below 500. How we determine in sports here in the States.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so he's And I'm assuming he's ended up losing to Moxley here soon. Aren't they wrestling at Full Gear? I could be wrong.
I think so, but yeah, I think Full Gear's not really been established. It's only just that they're going in that direction, though.
So I'm assuming that they're going to put Moxley over. I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. I mean, that's how they kind of built it a little bit, because you don't want John Moxley, coming from WWE to lose, soon after joining AEW. So that would make Kenny Omega 2 and 4. So I don't know how they would build Kenny Omega from there. So I guess the point out Meltzer's saying is maybe they should have built Kenny Omega out to be how he was in New Japan, to show people he's really, really good. And you and I know that he's a really, really good wrestler. Maybe they should have waited on the Moxley storyline after just do it for the new year or something. I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting point. I mean, he if Kenny loses, I can say he'll be 2 and 4.
Yeah, Yeah, which will make it. I like the fact that we can have this kind of conversation because it happens in sports all the time, right? People go on losing streaks, winning streaks, but not like a losing streak that we see in WWE where you throw a tantrum afterwards.
Exactly, and I do want to ask. I mean, I don't know if you may know because. I mean, are these win and loss records? Are they permanent, or are they going to start over like for a new season? Because I could be wrong, but I thought that AEW is going to take a little off season as well, but I could be wrong about that one. So,
I'm not sure, but I guess it's one of those things we're going to find out, right?
Yeah, I guess we have to enjoy the ride as we have it.
I kind of like that though. I kind of like that it does feel different. I totally agree with you about the WCW stuff. I think the WCW stuff is. Yeah, the best thing about it is if you know what WCW is, like you and I, you enjoy it for what it was, and if you don't, doesn't matter. You never saw WCW. Who cares? Like, you know, who cares?
Exactly. So they just need to stay away from the mistake they did with the NWO. If they end up being, if the Inner Circle is trying to be like the NWO, I think that's gonna kill that faction pretty quickly. They need to make it in their own thing. And stay away from what WCW did because we know what happened there. Is almost half the roster, or more than half the roster, joined the NWO.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to do that with the Inner Circle. I think they're too smart. But you know, as long as they don't and they stay away with that, I think we've got a huge upside with what they could do with that group because it's been so long since we've had a stable and so long since a group like that has come along and actually felt legit.
Exactly.
That learning from those kind of mistakes and ensure that they peak, but then obviously get their ass kicked eventually, and then we can just move on. And everyone in that group is good enough to have singles careers too. And we don't over-rely on them, basically, which is what WCW did towards the end. I think it'll be like the old meeting the new, and I'm always all good with the old meeting the new.
Exactly.
But yeah, we will see. I mean, it's a crazy. Let's finish just a quick overview of the draft. I mean, my thing with the draft now is that now it's all said and done. It feels a bit like it was just done for ratings. No one has really changed massively. Everyone's kind of on the same show, and hopefully now we can just settle back into whatever WWE is meant to be and see where we wind up.
To me, the Friday night SmackDown draft and last night's draft, to me, it was boring. Both of them were boring shows to me. I mean, there's some good matches in between. Is just overall the show was built over around the draft, but nothing really happened. It was built more like an NFL draft where you have someone come up there, the commissioner, or this would be Stephanie McMahon, coming out there and reading the names. They didn't even have the wrestlers come out. They want to be more like sports. At least in the NFL draft, they have the player come to the stage. They didn't even do this for SmackDown Raw.
Right. So there you go. You are American, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because I got crapped on. People going, Miller, you don't understand the NFL drafts. Like, no, I've watched NFL drafts. Like, you'll be amazed to hear the National Football League is a big deal over here. We're not as big as in America. I just didn't like the way WWE did it because I think you can have more fun with WWE. That was it.
I agree, and I thought it was boring. And this is where they should have had two separate people come. Someone representing USA and someone representing Fox to come out and read their pick. I think because the War Room was stupid, but it was also hilarious at the same time.
I will admit I didn't know about the Fox robot or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the hell that. Admittedly, that one went way over my head. But we don't get Fox over here, so why would I be able to watch?
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. I think it was more funny than it was more stupid and funny at the same time. I didn't really. I mean, it wasn't like, well, this is going to kill ratings. It was just really stupid funny to me. But overall, the draft for me, it was just boring. I just hope from here, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen though. But from here that the Raw roster stays on Raw and the SmackDown roster stays on SmackDown, and we can build proper feuds. But we keep saying that, well, after SummerSlam, it's going to get better. Well, after they go on Fox, it's going to get better. But now we have to say after Crown Jewel, they'll start building the storyline. But we've been doing that for the last, I don't know how many years.
I don't get it, man. They never do it. It's just. They never do it. Like, I don't understand.
And we got like I said, we got Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins. Bray's on SmackDown, and as of right now, Seth is on Raw. And then like last night, Lacey was on Raw, and she's supposed to be on SmackDown. So who knows?
Yeah. And no Randy Orton, and no Rusev, and no somebody else who got moved to the Raw. They weren't on Raw because why would they be?
Exactly. Yeah, and I was surprised they announced Titus O'Neil to go on Raw. I mean, this is the last time I haven't seen Titus O'Neil, and I don't even remember. So they're just picking random names. And I found it hilarious that the USA War Room got so excited for drafting R-Truth. I thought that was hilarious.
I like that. I mean, I was genuinely upset. This is when it's good. I was genuinely upset that Carmella and R-Truth got broken up, but in a good way. I was like, yes, excellent. That made me care. That made me give a shit.
How would that work though? If R-Truth is meant to defend it 24/7, I mean, is it just 24/7 except on SmackDown? So
I don't know, man. I fucking know, man. I try and figure this shit out. And I'm like,
and one more complaint I'll have is that last night they drafted Rudolph. I call him Rudolph. Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler.
Damn right.
They drafted them together as a tag team, but they didn't draft Alexa and Nikki Cross as a tag team, even though they got drafted to the same brand. So I thought that was kind of, I'm just nitpicking right here now, but.
No, but you do, man. Because the problem is when there is too much, you do start to nitpick. That's how the human brain works.
Exactly.
If you have one and you go, that's a bit weird, and you move on. Then there's two, and you go, wait. Then there's three, you go, wait. And then by the end, you're like, what's going on? It's like it's just too much.
WWE needs to start. They need to start in, I guess, explaining how their stuff works. And I'll bring back AEW. At least in 1 week, they explain why that main event with Jon Moxley interfering wasn't a DQ is because it was, the ref's decision. I guess the ref didn't want it, the main event of the first Dynamite to end in the disqualification. At least they addressed it, and that's what I want with WWE. I want them to start addressing things, and I want them to explain. I want them to be more consistent with the stuff that they're trying to tell us.
Yeah, dude, amen. I mean, yeah, 100%. That's all. I just want it to make sense. I don't have to like it.
Exactly.
That's fine. Don't care if I don't like it, but I want it to tick all the boxes.
Exactly.
I don't know. Well, on that note, we will draw this crazy stuff to the close. I think we'll agree on what we'd like to happen with Bray Wyatt. Whether or not it does, I don't know. We've got 2 weeks until. I know it's 2 weeks on Thursday because it's just bizarre when we've got Crown Jewel going down. You gonna watch Crown Jewel, man? Do you care?
No, actually, no. I really don't care because the last few ones, and actually, I'm at work when that happens. So my wife stays home and she lets me know what happens. Because she's the one that told me about the Goldberg and Undertaker stuff back in whatever show that was called. I don't remember.
Oh, man, I don't think it'd be as bad as that. Or at least I hope not, anyway.
But no, to answer your question, no, I don't plan on watching it. Because, like I said, I have to work that day anyways. And it's a glorified house show, and nothing's really gonna happen on that show. I don't think.
No. I'm intrigued with the Tyson Fury and Cain Velasquez stuff, but we will. Hey, we'll find out. Maybe Cain Velasquez becomes the WWE champion. Can you imagine the reaction? I would never, ever get over it. Kind of I want it, to be honest. But no, let's not go down that route. We're done with that. Dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. Thank you so much for your thoughts and opinions. And, of course, your support. I really appreciate it,
Of course, anytime. Like I said, my wife and I, we both think that you're worth it, man. And I do want to say one thing before you close. For all the people that listen to Simon Miller, all the people that that like what he does here on his channel and also on What Culture, support him. I see that on his YouTube. You have over 80,000 subscribers. If everybody gives him $1 a month, that's $80,000 a month, and he can do a lot more. So support Simon Miller. I'm all in with Simon.
Thanks, dude. You're too nice to me, man. You really are. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, it means the world to me, dude. Stuff like that inspires me. It motivates me. So thank you very much.
Anytime.
Awesome. And of course, outside of that, make sure you head over to my YouTube channel, like my man Derek just said, and give me a subscribe. I would appreciate that. Otherwise, Instagram and Twitter at SimonMiller316. Big Cartel, SimonMiller.BigCartel.com. Bunch of merchandise there, wrestling style. Check out What Culture 2 because I'm popping up there. And I think that's everything. Patreon.com/SimonMiller316 is how I'm able to do this. But otherwise, keep enjoying this crazy thing we called wrestling. At least it's fun, right? At least it gives us plenty to talk about. Fingers crossed for the Fiend. And I'll talk to you all again soon.